Hello everyone there. How are you? You must be fine. I hope you are enjoying your life fully. Okay, now turn to subject. Today we shall see one more interesting poem. The title of the poem, The Inchcape Rock, poet Robert Southey. In fact, this is a big poem. Let's know something about Robert Southey. Robert Southey was born in 1774 in Bristol, England. He was an English poet of the Romantic school. That means he was a romantic poet in England. He was one of the literary poets along with William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge. Robert Southey was a poet laureate of England from 1813 to 1843. Laureate, that means a person who is honored with an award for outstanding achievement. He was historian, literary scholar, biographer, essay writer, and a renowned translator. The Inchcape Rock is the best known example of a ballad. Now, children, let's know the meaning of ballad. A ballad means a long narrative poem which tells a story, and this story can be dramatic, funny, or romantic. There are 17 stanzas in this poem. This poem speaks about a didactic story. That means this poem teaches the readers moral lesson, and there are number of proverbs which teaches or says moral lesson. Some of them are here. First, as you sow, so shall you reap, or he who digs a pit for others fall into it. Our poem is about Inchcape Rock. This is actually a reef, and a reef means a line of rocks or sand just above or below the surface of the sea or water. Or we may say a reef is abode of rock lying under the surface of water. Inchcape Rock is situated close to the coastal region of Angus in Scotland. It is about 11 miles of the east. This story tells about the good deeds of Abbot and bad deeds of Sir Ralph the Rover. Now we shall see the explanation of the poem stanza wise. First stanza: no stir in the air, no stir in the sea. The ship was as still as she could be. Her sails from heaven received no motion. Her keel was steady in the ocean. Here the word stir means movement. Here the poet describes that there was no movement in the air as well as in the sea. Therefore, the ship was also motionless. Her sails were not moving and her keel was fixed in its position. That means the whole atmosphere was calm and quiet. That means there was no movement of air, so no movement in the sea. The ship was standstill. Her sails, that is canvas, that canvas was also standstill. It was not moving, and so in short we may say the atmosphere was pleasant, it was calm and quiet, no gusty air or wind, no movement in the sea or in the water, so everything was just standstill. Second stanza. Without either sign or sound of their shock, the waves flowed over the Inchcape Rock. So little they rose, so little they fell, they did not move the Inchcape Bell. In the second stanza, the poet describes how the waves were flowing over the Inchcape Rock silently. That means there was not any movement in the air, so the waves in the sea are flowing very slowly. They're moving at such a slow pace that they could not even manage to ring the bell. So the waves were flowing very slowly, and that is why the Inchcape Bell could not also ring. Third stanza. The abbot of Aberbrothock had placed that bell on the Inchcape Rock. On a buoy in the storm it floated and swung, and over the waves its warning rung. In this stanza, the poet reveals that it was a monk, the abbot of Aberbrothock. He had installed or placed the bell at Inchcape on a buoy. Means abbot who had placed or installed that bell at Inchcape on a buoy. In storm or high tide, this buoy would move violently, causing the bell to ring, and it warns to sailors and to alert to everyone that there is a dangerous rock. Now see the word abbot. Abbot means head of an abbey. Now here abbey means a building, and monk means a religious person. Means abbot of Aberbrothock means abbot was the head of the religious persons who occupied or stay in a building. Now this abbot who had placed that bell on Inchcape Rock, so during the storm or during the high tide situation, this boy could move or could float on the surface of the water, and because of violent storm, this boy could ring, and it warned the sailor that there could be a dangerous rock. Buoy means a floating object anchor in the sea to mark dangerous places. In short, Abbot, who was the head of the religious persons, that is, head of the monk, and he had a place that bell or buoy on Inchcape Rock, so that could indicate the sailors, or that could warn the sailors, or to alert that the dangerous rock was there. Next stanza. When the rock was hid by the surge's swell, the mariners heard the warning bell, and then they knew the perilous rock and blessed the abbot of Aberbrothock. The poet says that when the Inchcape Rock was underwater, sailors could hear the bell and know of the rock's position in the sea. So the sailors used to say the God would bless Abbot for this wonderful task for saving all the sailors and the mariners. Now see the words surges swell. Surges swell means sudden and great rise in the level of the sea. Perilous, dangerous, and blessed means it is an old English form of bless. Now what poet says? When the sea level, when the water level in the sea increased, this perilous rock was hid under the water, and because of that the mariners could not see this perilous rock, and that is why Abbot of Aberbrothock had installed that bell on this perilous rock, and because of this the sailor could understand that there is a dangerous rock, and they could just manage themselves and save their lives. And that is why the sailors bless the Abbot of Aberbrothock for his wonderful task. Next stanza. The sun in heaven was shining gay. All things were joyful on that day. The seabirds screamed as they wheeled round, and there was joyance in their sound. Now, the poet says that on that day the sun was shining brightly. So, it was a pleasant atmosphere, happy. And the seabirds were really happy. They were screaming and they were reeling around. In short, there was a joy in their sound. The atmosphere was pleasant. So on that day, the birds were screaming loudly. Seabirds were really happy. And naturally, the day was as usual shining brightly. So everything was fine, happy. Next stanza. The boy of the Inchcape Bell was seen, a darker speck on the ocean green. Sir Ralph the rover walked on his deck, and he fixed his eyes on the deck darker speck. In this stanza, Sir Ralph the rover is introduced. On that fine day, the boy, that is a floating object to show the reef on the Inchcape Rock, was clearly visible. It was a blackish spot in the ocean, in the green ocean. Sir Ralph the rover went on to the deck of his vessel and fixed his eye on the darker speck, that is dark spot of the boy. So Sir Ralph the rover walked on his deck, and what he saw? A dark spot in the green ocean. And when he saw that Inchcape Bell, that is dark speck, he fixed his eyes on that darker speck. Now here the word speck, a tiny dot, and Sir Ralph the rover means a sea pirate. Next stanza. He felt the cheering power of spring. It made him whistle, it made him sing. His heart was mirthful to excess, but the rover's mirth was wickedness. Now what the poet says? He says that as he saw a darker speck, that means a tiny spot in the green sea, he started to whistle and to sing, and the thought of spring cheered him up. He was overjoyed. However, his joy came from wickedness, that means evil thought was behind this happiness. Means as soon as Sir Ralph the rover saw a darker speck, that is a tiny spot in the green sea, his heart became happy. He was overjoyed. But there was a wicked thought behind his happiness, and the poet has used the word power of spring. That means we all know that in a spring season the atmosphere in the nature is cheerful. Everything looks happy and pleasant, and that is why the poet has used the word spring to show that Sir Ralph was very much happy or overjoyed. Next stanza. His eye was on the Inchcape float. Quoth he, my men, put out the boat and row me to the Inchcape Rock. I will plague the abbot of Aberbrothock. Then Sir Ralph settled his eyes on the Inchcape Rock and revealed his desire. He told his crewmen to sail him into the Inchcape Rock. He said that he was going to plague or to kill or destroy the good work of the abbot of Aberbrothok. So, in this stanza, the poet revealed Sir Ralph the Rover's desire. And what was his desire? His desire was that he wants to destroy the good work of Abbot of Aberbrothok. Next stanza. Down sunk the bale with a gurgling sound. The bubbles rose and burst around. Quoth Sir Ralph, the next who comes to the rock won't bless the abbot of Aberbrothok. Here, the bale of the Inchcape rock sunk into the water with a gurgling sound. The bubbles rose on the surface and burst everywhere. Means, when Sir Ralph cut the bale from the Inchcape rock, it sunk into the water with a gurgling sound, and Sir Ralph was happy, thinking that the bale would not save any ship and the seamen would not bless the abbot of Aberbrothok. So, because of his sinful work, because of his wicked work, whoever would travel towards the Inchcape rock, they would not bless the abbot of Aberbrothok, because Sir Ralph, who cut the bale from the Inchcape rock, and that's why they would not save their lives, and that is the wicked work done by the Sir Ralph the Rover. Next stanza. Sir Ralph the Rover sailed away. He scoured the seas for many a day, and now grown rich with a plundered store, he steers his course for Scotland's shore. Now, Sir Ralph then sailed away from Inchcape. Then he had robbed and looted many ships, which made accidents, crashing to Inchcape rock. He did his job of a pirate for quite some time, and then with his loot he headed toward Scotland. So, when he cut down the bale from the Inchcape rock, naturally, when the sailors or mariners would come toward the Inchcape rock, they accidentally hit over the Inchcape bale or the Inchcape rock. Here, the word scoured means traveled freely to rob ships. Another word, plundered store, means looted wealth. In short, for next few days, Sir Ralph sailed into the sea and looted many ships, and when he collected a big amount of wealth, he decided to head towards Scotland shore. Next stanza. So thick a haze o'erspreads the sky, they cannot see the sun on high. The wind hath blown a gale all day, at evening it hath died away. Now here, supernatural element played a prominent role, which is the speciality of his poetry. Sir Ralph was sailing to Scotland. The atmosphere was gloomy all the day. The sun was hidden behind the thick fog. The strong wind was blowing all the day, and now in the evening it had stopped blowing. In short, as usual, the supernatural element played a prominent role in this poetry. The atmosphere was gloomy. The strong wind was blowing all the day. There was a thick fog in the sky, so the sun was hid behind the clouds. So that was the atmosphere, but in the evening it changed totally, and the wind was blowing very gustily throughout the day. It had stopped blowing suddenly. Next stanza. On the deck the rower takes his stand. So dark it is they see no land. Quoth Sir Ralph, it will be lighter soon, for there is the dawn of the rising moon. In this stanza, the poet describes that Sir Ralph stood on the deck, but he could not see any land around him. He assured his crewmen that once the moon rises, there will be some light for them to see. Next stanza. Canst hear, said one, the breakers roar? For methinks we should be near the shore. Now, where we are, I cannot tell, but I wish I could hear the Inchcape bell. One of the Ralph's men say that he hears the roaring sound of the waves breaking against something. So he hopes they should be near the shore. Means that one of Ralph's men, when he hears the roaring sound of the waves, he came to the conclusion that they should be near the shore. He also regrets that the Inchcape bell is no more, as it could guide them in this situation. Next stanza. They hear no sound. The swell is strong. Though the wind hath fallen, they drift along till the vessel strikes with a shivering shock. O Christ, it is the Inchcape rock. Here, the poet describes or says that there was no sound of wind, but the tide was strong. Even though there was no wind, they were drifting along with ship. Suddenly, the vessel, that means the ship, got jerking. Realized that the ship had hit the Inchcape rock. Now here we found that, next stanza, Sir Ralph the rower tore his hair. He crushed himself in his despair. The waves rush in every side. The ship is sinking beneath the tide. Sir Ralph, the sea pirate, had lost all hope and pulled his hair in frustration. He cursed himself for his evil deeds. Meanwhile, what happened? The water filled every corner of the vessel, that is a ship, and started sinking in the ocean. In short, Sir Ralph came to know his mistake, and so he pulled his hair in frustration. He cursed himself because of his evil deeds. Next stanza. But even in his dying fear, one dreadful sound could the rover hear, a sound as if with the Inchcape bell the David below was ringing his knell. As the rover was dying, he heard a sound like the ringing of the Inchcape bell. It was actually his death knell that the devil himself was ringing beneath the water. Finally, he himself was the victim of the Inchcape rock, and his ship was sunk in the water. Thus, the rover was punished for his sinful work. Here, the poet Robert Southey delivers a message through this poem, and that is, as you sow, so shall you reap. The Inchcape rock is didactic in nature, like most of Southey's poem. Here, the word knell means the sound of a bell rung solemnly after death or at a funeral announcement of death. Here we come to an end of the poem. Children, a big poem. Try to understand the story. Read many times. Grasp the central idea. Till then, goodbye. Keep learning. Stay home. Stay safe. Thank you.